A determined house cleaner's life turns upside down when she falls in love with a wealthy heir at a Vegas wedding. But as their whirlwind romance faces family opposition and dark secrets from the past, she discovers that true love means choosing between safety and destiny. Before we continue with Maya and Amir's journey, make sure to subscribe and let us know in the comments where you're watching from today. Maya Washington wiped the sweat from her forehead as she finished cleaning the last apartment of the day. The fancy Upper East Side building was a world away from her small studio in Queens, but after 5 years of cleaning these expensive homes, she was used to it. At 28 years old, this wasn't the life she had dreamed of, but it paid the bills. Another day, another dollar, she muttered to herself, gathering her cleaning supplies. Her phone buzzed. It was David, her boyfriend of 3 years, probably asking about dinner plans. Same as every Thursday. David was a good man. Steady job as a bank teller, nice to her family, never caused any drama. But lately, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. Their dates had become as routine as her cleaning schedule. Pizza on Fridays, movie night on Saturdays, family dinner with his parents every other Sunday. Back in her tiny apartment, Maya checked her mail. Among the bills was a fancy cream-colored envelope. Inside was an invitation to her cousin Lucy's wedding in Las Vegas. Maya hadn't seen Lucy in years, not since Lucy married into money and moved across the country. "You have to come." Lucy's excited voice rang through the phone later that evening. "It's my second wedding, but this time it's to a real catch. James Rahman. His family owns half of Dubai, I swear. The whole weekend is going to be amazing. Please say you'll be there." Maya looked around her small apartment at the stack of bills on her counter. "I don't know, Lucy. Vegas isn't exactly in my budget right now." "Nonsense. I'm paying for your flight and hotel. Your family, Maya. Plus, I need someone normal. These rich people are driving me crazy with their demands." David wasn't happy when Maya told him about the trip. "Vegas? For a whole weekend? What am I supposed to do while you're gone?" "How you could come with me," Maya suggested, even though Lucy had only sent one ticket. "You know I can't take time off work right now," David said, frowning. "Plus, what do we have in common with those rich people? They'll probably just look down on us." Maya felt a flash of annoyance. "Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But Lucy invited me and I'm going." The week before the wedding, Maya picked up an extra shift cleaning apartments to afford a new dress. Nothing fancy, just a simple blue number from Macy's, but when she tried it on, she felt different, pretty, special. The night before her flight, David came over with takeout Chinese food, their usual Thursday ritual. "Just be careful out there," he said, picking at his lomen. "Those rich guys, they like to play around with regular girls. Don't let them fool you." Maya wanted to argue, to tell him she wasn't some naive girl who would fall for smooth talk and fancy clothes, but instead, she just nodded and changed the subject. That night, lying in bed, she wondered why David's concern felt more like control than care. The flight to Vegas was early Friday morning. As Maya watched New York disappear beneath the clouds, she felt something she hadn't experienced in a long time: excitement. For once, she wasn't Maya the maid or Maya the girlfriend. She was just Maya, heading to somewhere new, somewhere different. Little did she know this weekend would change everything. At that same moment, in a private jet heading to the same destination, Amir Rahman was looking out his own window, thinking about the family wedding he had to attend. Recently divorced and tired of his family's attempts to reunite him with his ex-wife Sophia, he had no idea that fate had other plans for him too. The Vegas Strip glittered below as Maya's plane descended. She clutched her small carry-on bag, containing the blue dress and her few nice pieces of jewelry. Whatever happened this weekend, one thing was certain: it would be different from her life in Queens. Whether that was good or bad remained to be seen. In her hotel room at the Bellagio, Maya stood at the window, looking out at the fountains dancing below. Her phone buzzed with a text from David. "Miss you already, don't forget who you are." Maya put the phone down without replying. For the first time in years, she was starting to wonder if who she was might be someone different from who everyone thought she was. The wedding reception hall at the Bellagio was like nothing Maya had ever seen. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, and white roses covered every table. She felt out of place in her Macy's dress, surrounded by women dripping in diamonds and designer labels. "Maya, you made it!" Lucy rushed over, wrapped in a cloud of white silk and perfume. Her second wedding was clearly sparing no expense. "Come, you have to meet everyone." For the next hour, Maya smiled and nodded at so many people she lost count. Doctors, lawyers, business owners. Lucy's new family seemed to be made entirely of successful people. Maya's cheeks hurt from forcing polite smiles while trying to ignore the way some guests looked at her, like they could tell her dress wasn't designer. "I need some air," Maya whispered to Lucy, slipping away from the crowd. She found a quiet balcony overlooking the Vegas Strip. The night air was warm, and the city lights sparkled below like fallen stars. "Not a fan of crowds either?" The voice behind her was deep and gentle. Maya turned to find a tall man in an expensive suit standing in the doorway. But it wasn't his clothes that caught her attention. It was his eyes. They were dark and kind, with a hint of sadness that made her want to know more. "I'm just taking a break," Maya said, suddenly conscious of her simple dress. "It's a lot to take in." He smiled, walking over to join her at the railing. "Tell me about it. I've been to hundreds of these events and they never get easier." He extended his hand. "I'm Amir Rahman. The groom is my cousin." Maya's eyes widened slightly. This was James's cousin, part of the wealthy family Lucy had married into. "I'm Maya Washington, Lucy's cousin." "Ah, from the other side of the family," Amir said, but not in the dismissive way others had said it. He seemed genuinely interested. "And what do you do, Maya Washington?" Maya hesitated. Usually she hated this question at fancy parties. "I'm a cleaning professional," she said, lifting her chin slightly. "I work for a service that maintains luxury apartments in New York." Instead of the usual awkward pause, Amir's face lit up. "New York? That's where I'm heading next week, opening a new office there." He leaned against the railing. "Must be interesting seeing how the other half lives." "Sometimes." Maya found herself relaxing. Though honestly, empty apartments all look the same after a while. It's the little things that tell you about the people, the books they read, the pictures they keep. "You notice things others miss," Amir said softly. "That's a rare quality." Before Maya could respond, a woman's voice cut through the moment. "Amir, darling, there you are." A stunning woman in a red dress appeared at the doorway. Her jewelry probably cost more than Maya's yearly salary. "Your mother's looking for you," she said, giving Maya a cold once-over. "Sophia," Amir's voice, had lost its warmth. "Maya, this is my ex-wife." The word ex hung in the air like smoke. Sophia's perfect smile didn't waver. "How lovely to meet you. Come, Amir. Don't be rude. Your family needs you." Maya watched as Amir was led away, though he glanced back at her with an apologetic smile. Her phone buzzed. Another text from David. "Hope you're not getting into trouble." But Maya wasn't thinking about David. She was thinking about the way Amir had looked at her, like she was someone worth knowing. Not just a maid, not just Lucy's poor cousin, but Maya. Later that night, during dinner, Maya found herself seated at a table far from the main family, with other distant relatives. But she didn't mind. From here she could watch Amir, seated at the head table with his family. Every now and then their eyes would meet across the room, and Maya would feel a little jolt of electricity. Sophia, she noticed, kept finding reasons to touch Amir's arm or whisper in his ear. But Maya also noticed how he would lean away, how his smile never quite reached his eyes when Sophia was near. "Girl, you're playing with fire," Lucy said, dropping into an empty chair beside Maya. "I saw you talking to Amir earlier, and I saw how you're looking at each other now." "We just talked," Maya protested. "Besides, he's single, successful, and hasn't smiled like that in years," Lucy cut in. "And you're beautiful, smart, and real. Sometimes that's all that matters." Maya thought about David back in New York, about their comfortable but passionless relationship. She thought about Amir's kind eyes and the way he'd actually listened to her. As if her thoughts had summoned him, Amir appeared beside their table. "Would you like to dance?" he asked Maya, extending his hand. Maya hesitated for just a moment before taking it. His hand was warm and strong around hers. As they moved on to the dance floor, Maya could feel Sophia's eyes burning into her back. But when Amir pulled her close and the music began to play, everyone else seemed to fade away. "I'm leaving for New York on Tuesday," he said softly. "Maybe we could have coffee." Maya knew she should say no. She had a boyfriend. This wasn't her world. But looking up into Amir's eyes, seeing the hope there, she found herself nodding. "I'd like that," she whispered. And for the first time in years, Maya felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. The Monday after Vegas felt different. Maya went through her usual cleaning routine, but her mind kept drifting back. To the wedding, to Amir's smile, to the way his hand had felt while they danced. Tomorrow he would be in New York. Tomorrow they would have coffee. You seem distracted, Mrs. Peterson said as Maya cleaned her penthouse apartment. The elderly woman had always been kind to Maya, treating her more like a granddaughter than a maid. Did something special happen at that wedding? Maya blushed. Just the usual wedding stuff, Mrs. Peterson. You know how it is. Honey, I'm old, not blind. You've been smiling at nothing all morning. That's not your usual wedding stuff smile. Before Maya could respond, her phone buzzed. It was David. Coming over tonight? Mom's making her famous meatloaf. Maya stared at the text. Monday night dinner with David's family. Another routine she'd almost forgotten, but the thought of sitting there pretending everything was normal when her whole world felt like it was shifting made her stomach twist. Something came up at tea. Work, she texted back. Rain check? David's response was immediate. Everything okay? You've been weird since Vegas. Maya put the phone away without answering. Mrs. Peterson watched her with knowing eyes. Sometimes, the old woman said softly, the hardest part isn't finding love. It's being brave enough to accept it when it comes. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. She tossed and turned, thinking about David. Dependable, safe David, who had been part of her life for so long. They had talked about marriage, about buying a small house in Queens, about having kids. It was a good future, a sensible future. So why didn't it feel like enough anymore? Tuesday morning came with butterflies in Maya's stomach. She had agreed to meet Amir at a coffee shop near Central Park after her morning cleaning jobs. She spent extra time getting ready, putting on her nicest work clothes, black pants, and a blue blouse she'd bought on sale at Target. The coffee shop was fancy, with prices Maya usually wouldn't even consider. She felt out of place until she saw Amir waiting outside, wearing a simple button-down shirt instead of his expensive suit from the wedding. Maya, his face lit up when he saw her, making her heart skip. I was worried you might change your mind. I thought about it, she admitted as they found a table. I don't usually date handsome, charming men, Amir teased, then grew serious. Or is it the rich part that's bothering you? Maya appreciated his directness. Both, I guess. Plus, there's David. Ah, Amir's smile faded slightly. The boyfriend you mentioned. Yes, no, Maya took a deep breath. It's complicated. Life usually is. Amir reached across the table, his hand close to hers but not quite touching. Look, I know this is crazy. We just met. We're from different worlds and there's probably a million reasons why this is a bad idea. But I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since the wedding. Maya's heart raced. I have a cleaning job in an hour, she said weakly. Cancel it. I can't just... Yes, you can. Take a chance, Maya. One afternoon. Let me show you. My New York. Maybe it was the way he looked at her, or maybe it was Mrs. Peterson's words about being brave, but Maya found herself calling her cleaning service and telling them she was sick. What followed was like something from a movie. Amir took her to places she'd never been, even though she'd lived in New York her whole life. They had lunch at a rooftop restaurant with views that took her breath away. He showed her his new office building, still under construction, and talked about his dreams of creating something meaningful. What are your dreams, Maya? He asked as they walked through Central Park. And don't say you don't have any. Everyone has dreams. Maya thought about it. I always wanted to do interior design, she admitted. Working in those fancy apartments, I sometimes rearrange things in my head. Imagine how I'd do it differently. And you should pursue that, Amir said seriously. You have an eye for detail, you understand spaces and people. Why not take some classes? Classes cost money, Maya laughed, but without humor. And time. And what? What's really stopping? You, Maya? Before she could answer, her phone rang. David's picture flashed on the screen. Maya stared at it, her stomach churning with guilt. You should answer it, Amir said quietly. I understand if you need to go. But Maya didn't answer. Instead, she turned off her phone and put it in her purse. Tell me more about your new building, she said. As the afternoon turned to evening, they found themselves back at the coffee shop where they'd started. I have a dinner meeting, Amir said reluctantly, but I'd like to see you again. Really see you, Maya, not just stolen afternoons. I don't know if I can, Maya whispered. This day was like a dream, but my real life... Is this not real? Amir touched her hand, and Maya felt that same electricity from the wedding, because it feels real to me. When Maya finally got home that night, she had 12 missed calls from David and a text that read, Your mum said you're not sick. What's going on, Maya? This isn't like you. Maya sat on her bed looking at the text. David was right, this wasn't like her. The Maya he knew would never skip work to spend the day with a man she barely knew. The Maya he knew was practical, reliable, content with their simple life. But as she got ready for bed, Maya caught her reflection in the mirror and saw something different in her eyes, a spark that hadn't been there before. Maybe, she realized, the Maya that David knew wasn't the only Maya there was. Maya was cleaning the windows of Mr. Anderson's Fifth Avenue apartment when she saw the reflection of someone entering the room. She turned around and nearly dropped her cleaning cloth. There, in an expensive white suit, stood Sophia, Amir's ex-wife. "So this is where you work," Sophia said, looking around the apartment with a cold smile. "How quaint." Maya's hands trembled as she put down her cleaning supplies. "This is a private residence. You can't be here." "Oh, but I can." Sophia pulled out her phone, showing a text. "Mr. Anderson is my father's golf partner. When I mentioned I needed to have a little chat with one of his cleaning staff, he was happy to give me access." Maya's heart pounded. It had been 2 weeks since her day with Amir. 2 weeks of secret coffee meetings and long phone calls that left her smiling. 2 weeks of lying to David about working late. "What do you want, Sophia?" "I want you to understand something." Sophia moved closer, her designer heels clicking on the hardwood floor. "Amir and I have history. 10 years of marriage, shared friends, family connections worth millions. Do you really think you can compete with that?" "Amir and I are just friends," Maya said, but her voice wavered. Sophia laughed. "Please, I've seen how he looks at you. But let me tell you what will happen, dear. The novelty will wear off. He'll remember who he really is, where he comes from. And you'll be back here, cleaning windows and dreaming about a world you can never really be part of." After Sophia left, Maya sat down on Mr. Anderson's expensive couch, something she'd never done before. Her phone buzzed. It was Amir asking if she was free for dinner. Maya stared at the message, Sophia's words echoing in her head. That evening, instead of meeting Amir, Maya went to David's apartment. He opened the door with a surprised look. "Hey, stranger," he said, his voice a mixture of hurt and relief. "Finally remembered where I live?" "David, Maya started, but he cut her off. "Save it, I know something's going on. Lucy called me." Maya's blood ran cold. "Lucy called you?" "Yeah. Asked me how I was handling your new friend. Said she was worried about you getting hurt." David's eyes were hard. "Who is he, Maya?" "It's not what you think," Maya said automatically. But even she didn't believe her words anymore. "Really? Because I think my girlfriend of 3 years is throwing away everything we built for some rich guy she met at a wedding. Tell me I'm wrong." Before Maya could respond, her phone buzzed again. David grabbed it before she could stop him. "Amir Rahman," he read, his face darkening. "Let me guess, Lucy's new rich in-laws? Give me my phone, David." "Why? So you can keep lying? Keep pretending you're working late when you're really out with him?" David threw the phone on the couch. "I'm not stupid, Maya. I know cleaning ladies don't come home wearing perfume that costs more than their weekly salary." Maya touched her neck where Amir's gift, a small bottle of French perfume, had left its trace. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen, but it did happen, and you let it." David's voice broke. "I had a ring, you know. Was going to propose next month on your birthday, had it all planned out." Tears filled Maya's eyes. "I'm sorry." "Yeah, me too." David walked to his door and opened it. "I hope he's worth it, Maya. I really do." Maya left David's apartment in a daze. She walked for hours through the city, ending up in Central Park where she and Amir had spent that perfect afternoon. Her phone buzzed again. Amir was calling. This time she answered. "Maya, are you okay? I've been worried." Just hearing his voice made her heart ache. "No," she whispered. "I'm not okay. Your ex-wife came to see me today." There was a long pause. "Sophia did what?" "She found me at work. Told me I'd never fit in your world." Maya wiped her tears. Maybe she's right. "Maya, listen to me." Amir's voice was urgent. "Where are you? Let me come get you." "David knows about us," Maya continued as if she hadn't heard him. "He was going to propose. I ruined everything, Amir. Everything." "You didn't ruin anything," Amir said firmly. "Stay where you are. I'm coming to get you." 20 minutes later, Amir's black Mercedes pulled up to the park entrance. He jumped out, not caring that he was double parked, and ran to Maya. Without a word, he pulled her into his arms. "I'm so sorry about Sophia," he whispered into her hair. "She's been like this since the divorce, trying to control everything, everyone. But what if she's right?" Maya pulled back to look at him. Look at us, Amir. You're opening office buildings and I clean them. You go to charity galas and I can barely afford rent. How can this possibly work? Because I love you. The words hung in the air between them. Maya stared at him, her heart stopping and starting again. I know it's fast, Amir continued, taking her hands in his. I know there are a million reasons why this shouldn't work, but I don't care about any of them. I love you, Maya Washington, not because of where you come from or what you do for a living, but because of who you are. Before Maya could respond, a familiar voice cut through the moment. How touching. They turned to see Sophia standing there, her white suit glowing in the park lights. Behind her was an older couple Maya recognized from wedding photos, Amir's parents. I thought they should see for themselves, Sophia said sweetly. The real reason you've been cancelling all those dinner meetings, all those attempts at reconciliation. Amir's father stepped forward, his face like stone. So, this is why you've been avoiding your responsibilities. For this... Choose your next words very carefully, father. Amir's voice was quiet but firm, because they might be the last ones I ever hear from you. The Rahman family's private dining room at the Four Seasons was silent, except for the soft clink of expensive silverware. Maya sat stiffly in her chair, feeling like she was on trial. Amir's hand gripped hers under the table, but even his touch couldn't calm her racing heart. So, Mrs. Rahman finally spoke, her accent thick with disapproval. You clean houses for a living. Apartments? Maya corrected softly. Yes, I do. And you think this makes you suitable for my son? Mrs. Rahman turned to Amir. Have you lost your mind? Your father and I didn't work all these years build this empire for you to throw it away on some maid. That's enough, mother. Amir's voice was sharp. I didn't come here to ask for permission. I came out of respect to introduce you to the woman I love. Love? Sophia laughed from her seat beside Mrs. Rahman. Please, Amir, this is obviously a phase, a rebellion against our marriage ending. Our marriage ended because you cared more about status than love, Amir shot back. Just like my parents' marriage, just like every marriage in our social circle. Well, I'm done with it. Mr. Rahman slammed his hand on the table, making the crystal glasses shake. You forget yourself, son. You have responsibilities. The company, I built that company. Amir stood up, his chair scraping back. Yes, you gave me the seed money, but I turned it into what it is today. And I did it while being married to a woman I didn't love, attending parties I hated, living a life that made me miserable. Maya tried to stand too, but Amir gently pressed her shoulder, keeping her seated. No, stay. They need to hear this. He turned back to his family. I love Maya, not because of where she comes from, but because she sees me. Not Amir Rahman, the CEO, not the family heir, just me. And if you can't accept that, then you're not the family I thought you were. Don't be dramatic, Sophia rolled her eyes. Give it a month. You'll get bored playing savior to your Cinderella, and then, that's it. This time it was Maya who stood up. I've sat here quietly, letting you all talk about me like I'm not even here. But I'm done. Yes, I'm a maid. Yes, I clean houses for a living. But I work hard. I'm honest. And I don't manipulate people to get what I want. She looked directly at Sophia, unlike some people. The next morning, Maya arrived at Mrs. Peterson's apartment for her regular cleaning, only to find a service cancelled notice on her cleaning company's app. Then another cancellation came in, and another. By lunch, she'd lost half her regular clients. Her phone rang. It was her supervisor. I'm sorry, Maya, she said, but we've had complaints. High-profile clients saying they don't feel comfortable with you in their homes anymore. Something about a scandal with the Rahman family? Maya sat on a park bench, her world crumbling. Her phone buzzed with a text from Lucy. Girl, you're all over the society pages. Sophia's friends are saying terrible things. Call me. She didn't need to call Lucy. A quick internet search showed her everything. Photos of her and Amir in the park, twisted stories about a gold-digging maid seducing a wealthy businessman, anonymous sources claiming she'd tried to blackmail the family. Don't read that trash. Amir's voice made her jump. He sat down beside her, looking tired but determined. I've already got our lawyers working on it. Our lawyers? Yes, our lawyers. Amir took her hands in his. Maya, I meant what I said. Last night I choose you. Over my family's approval, over social expectations, over everything. But your family will either accept us or lose me. It's their choice. He smiled sadly. They've already started. Father froze my accounts this morning. Maya's eyes widened. What? It's okay, I have my own money, investments they can't touch. And the New York office is mine. I made sure of that years ago. He squeezed her hands. But that's not why I'm here. I'm here because I have a crazy idea. Maya looked at him warily. How crazy? Marry me. What? Maya pulled her hands back. Amir, no, not like this. Not because your family, not because of them, because I love you, because when I picture my future, you're the only thing in it that matters. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. I bought this the day after the wedding in Vegas. Been carrying it around ever since, waiting for the right moment. The ring was beautiful but simple. A single diamond that caught the sunlight. Not flashy like Sophia's had been, but perfect. People will talk, Maya whispered. Let them. Your mother will never accept me. She'll learn to, or she'll miss out on knowing her grandchildren. Maya's heart skipped. Children? Eventually, Amir smiled. If you want them. Maya, I know this is fast. I know it's crazy, but when you know, you know. And I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Maya looked at the ring, thinking about everything that had happened. She thought about David and their safe, predictable life, about Sophia and her cruel words, about Mrs. Rahman's disapproval and Mr. Rahman's anger. But mostly, she thought about Amir, about how he looked at her like she was the most important person in the world, about how he'd stood up to his entire family for her, about how for the first time in her life she felt truly, completely alive. Yes, she whispered. Yes, yes, I'll marry you. Maya laughed through her tears. God help me, but yes. Amir slipped the ring onto her finger and it fit perfectly. Around them, people were taking pictures with their phones, probably already sending them to gossip columns. But for once, Maya didn't care. Let them talk, let them judge. Some things were worth any price. Maya stared at her tiny apartment, now filled with boxes. After losing most of her cleaning clients, she couldn't afford the rent anymore, but that wasn't the only reason she was moving. Are you sure about this? Her mother asked, helping her pack the last of her dishes. Moving in with him already? People will talk. People are already talking, Mum. Maya showed her mother the latest gossip site on her phone. Rahman heirs made mistress. The full story, screamed the headline, alongside unflattering photos of her in her cleaning uniform. I just don't want you to get hurt, her mother sighed. Men like that, they live in a different world. Amir's different, Maya said, but her mother's words echoed her own secret fears. Her phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Peterson. Don't believe the lies they're spreading, dear. True love doesn't care about bank accounts. Come visit me any time. At least she still had one client who believed in her. Mrs. Peterson had refused to cancel Maya's services, telling the cleaning company she'd quit using them entirely if they fired Maya. The sound of a car horn outside made Maya's heart leap. Amir was here to help with the move, but when she looked out the window, she saw David instead, leaning against his old Honda. What are you doing here? Maya asked, coming down to the street. Heard you were moving, David said, his eyes fixing on her engagement ring. Wow, that was fast. David, no, let me finish. He ran a hand through his hair. Look, I know I acted badly before, but Maya, this isn't you. Living in some fancy penthouse, being some rich guy's trophy wife. Is that what you think I'm doing? Maya felt her anger rising. That I'm just after his money, aren't you? The Maya I knew would never move in with a guy she barely knows, would never give up her independence for... A sleek black Mercedes pulled up, cutting David off. Amir stepped out, his face tightening when he saw David. Everything okay here? Amir asked, moving to Maya's side. Fine, Maya said quickly. David was just leaving, but David didn't move. You know what? No. She might be too polite to say it, but I'm not. You're ruining her life, man. Since you came along, she's lost her job, her reputation. I lost those things because of your precious Sophia, Amir snapped. She's the one spreading lies, getting Maya's clients to fire her. Maybe because she knows you, David shot back. 10 years of marriage, right? Maybe she's trying to warn Maya about what kind of man you really are. Maya stepped between them. Stop it, both of you. David, go home. This isn't your business anymore. Fine. David's voice was bitter. But when he gets tired of playing house with the help, don't come crying to me. After David left, Maya and Amir worked in silence, loading boxes into his car. Finally, in the empty apartment, Amir spoke. He's right about one thing, he said quietly. You have lost a lot because of me. No, Maya touched his face. I lost those things because of people who think they can control us. There's a difference. But later that night, in Amir's, their penthouse, Maya couldn't sleep. She stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out at the city lights. Everything was happening so fast. A month ago, she was just a cleaning lady with a steady boyfriend and a simple life. Now she was engaged to one of New York's most eligible bachelors, living in a home bigger than her entire apartment building. "Can't sleep." Amir's voice was soft behind her. "Just thinking." Maya turned to face him. "Your mother called again today." Amir's face darkened. "What did she say?" "That she could get me a job in London, a good job, with one of your father's companies. If I leave you. I'll call her tomorrow, tell her to stop." "No," Maya cut him off. "Let her try, let them all try, because they don't understand something." "What's that?" "That I'd rather clean houses my whole life with you by my side than have all the money in the world without you." Amir pulled her close, but before he could kiss her, his phone rang. The caller ID showed his lawyer's name. "What is it?" Maya asked, seeing Amir's face change as he listened. "Sophia," he said grimly, hanging up. "She's filed a lawsuit claiming you stole jewelry from her at the wedding in Vegas. Says she has witnesses who saw you near her hotel room." Maya felt like she'd been punched. "That's insane. I never went anywhere near her room." "I know, love." Amir's voice was tired. "But she's serious. She's trying to destroy your reputation completely, make it impossible for you to find work anywhere." "Why? Why does she hate me so much?" "Because you have what she never did. My heart." Amir's phone buzzed again with a text. "And now my father's threatening to remove me from the company board unless I come to my senses." Maya felt tears filling her eyes. Maybe we should wait. Give it some time." "No." Amir's voice was firm. "That's what they want. To wear us down, make us doubt ourselves." He took her hands in his. "I have an idea, but you might think it's crazy. Crazier than everything else that's happened. Let's get married, not next year, not in 6 months, now, tomorrow, just us, no family, no drama. Show them all we're serious." Maya stared at him. "You want to elope? Why not? We could fly to Vegas tonight, be married by morning. Then no one can tear us apart. Your parents would never forgive you." "I don't care." Amir pulled out his phone. "I'll call my pilot, have the jet ready in an hour. What do you say?" Maya looked around the luxurious penthouse, thought about her empty apartment, about David's accusations, about Sophia's lawsuit, about all the obstacles trying to keep them apart. Then she looked at Amir, at the love and certainty in his eyes, and made her decision. "Let's do it," she whispered. "Let's get married." An hour later, they were in Amir's private jet flying toward Vegas. Maya looked out the window as New York disappeared beneath them, wondering if she was being brave or foolish. But when Amir squeezed her hand and smiled at her, she knew it. Didn't matter. Sometimes the craziest decisions were the only ones that made sense. The Las Vegas lights twinkled below as Amir's private jet prepared for landing. Maya's heart was racing. In just a few hours, she would be Mrs. Rahman. But fate had other plans. "What do you mean there's a problem?" Amir was on his phone, his face growing darker by the second. "How did they even know?" Maya's stomach dropped. She already knew who they were. "My father's lawyers," Amir explained, hanging up. "They're waiting at every wedding chapel in Vegas. They've gotten court orders preventing any of them from performing our marriage." "Can they do that?" "They're claiming I'm not of sound mind, that this marriage would put company assets at risk." Amir's hands clenched into fists. "Sophia's involved too. She's telling everyone you're trying to trap me into marriage before the theft charges can be filed." Maya felt tears threatening. "So what do we do?" Before Amir could answer, both their phones buzzed. Someone had leaked their flight plan to the press. Photos of them boarding the private jet were already online, along with speculation about their secret wedding plans. "This is my fault," Maya whispered. "If I wasn't who I am, if I was from your world—" "Stop." Amir knelt in front of her seat. "This isn't your fault. This is about control. My family has controlled me my whole life through money, through guilt, through responsibility. But not anymore." He pulled out his phone again, dialing quickly. "Change of plans," he told his pilot. "We're not landing in Vegas. Take us to Miami instead." "Miami?" Maya asked. "I have a friend there, a judge who owes me a favor. He can marry us privately, legally, and my family won't know until it's done." For the first time since they'd taken off, Maya smiled, but her smile faded as she checked her own phone. There were dozens of missed calls from her mother, and one text that made her blood run cold. "Amir," she showed him the message. "Look, it was from David. Your mom's worried." "Sick. Don't do this, Maya. That family is dangerous. You don't know what Sophia told me." What is he talking about? Maya asked. What did Sophia tell him? Nothing true, I'm sure. But Amir looked worried. Let me make some calls. While Amir stepped into the jet's private cabin, Maya called her mother. Mom, I'm fine. I'm with Amir. Maya, listen to me. Her mother's voice was frightened. That woman, his ex-wife, she came to see me. Showed me things, documents. Said, Maya, she says he's done this before. Done what before? Married girls like you. Poor girls. Then after a few months, everything they owned would be in his name. They'd sign papers they didn't understand, and then, her mother's voice broke, they'd lose everything. One girl even went to jail for fraud. Maya felt like she couldn't breathe. That's not true, Sophia's lying. Maybe. But Maya, please come home, at least take time to think about this. The call ended just as Amir came back. One look at Maya's face, and he knew something was wrong. What did Sophia tell your mother? Maya told him everything. To her surprise, Amir didn't look angry. He looked devastated. So that's her new game, he said quietly. I should have known she'd try this. Is it true? Maya's voice was barely a whisper. No. God, no. Amir sat beside her, taking her hands. But I know what she's talking about. There were 3 women before Sophia, all from working-class backgrounds. All of them tried to marry into the Rahman family. What happened to them? Sophia happened. She was my father's lawyer's daughter. She discovered these women were part of a scam ring, targeting wealthy families. She's the one who got them arrested. Amir's grip tightened. That's how we met. She was the hero who saved me from being conned. My father was so grateful, he practically forced us together. And you married her. I did, because I believed her, because it was easier than fighting my family, because I was young and stupid and thought love was about security and social status. He touched Maya's face. But now I know what real love feels like. And I'm not letting anyone take it away from us. Maya wanted to believe him, but doubt had crept in, poisoning everything like ink in water. How can I know? She asked. How can I be sure this is real? Amir was quiet for a moment. Then he pulled out his phone again. Remember when I said I had my own money, investments they couldn't touch? Maya nodded. Watch this. He made a few quick taps, then showed her the screen. He was transferring everything, millions of dollars, into a new account. I don't understand. It's a trust, in your name only. Everything I own outside the family business, it's yours now. If this is a con, I'm the worst con man in history. Maya stared at the phone, at the numbers that represented more money than she'd see in 10 lifetimes. Amir, I can't. Yes, you can, because I trust you. Complete control of the money, no conditions, no shared access. He smiled. Still, think I'm trying to steal from you. Tears rolled down Maya's cheeks as she pulled him close and kissed him. When they finally broke apart, Amir wiped her tears away. Now, he said, should I tell the pilot to continue to Miami? Maya took a deep breath, thinking about everything. Sophia's accusations, her mother's fears, David's warnings. Then she looked at Amir, at the love and trust in his eyes, and knew her answer. Yes, she said firmly. Take us to Miami. Let's get married. As the jet changed course, Maya's phone buzzed one last time. A text from Sophia. You'll regret this. I promise. Maya turned off her phone and curled into Amir's arms. Let Sophia threaten, let the family scheme. Let the whole world talk. Some things were worth fighting for. Consequences. The Miami courthouse was quiet when Maya and Amir arrived. Judge Rodriguez, Amir's old friend, was waiting for them in his chambers. Everything was ready. Finally, after all the drama and obstacles, they were going to be married. Then Maya's phone rang. Don't answer it, Amir said, but Maya had already seen the caller ID. It was Mrs. Peterson. I have to, Maya said. She's the only client who stood by me. But when she answered, it wasn't Mrs. Peterson's voice on the line. It was Sophia's. Before you hang up, Sophia said quickly, you might want to turn on the news. Any channel will do. Maya's hand shook as she pulled up a news app on her phone. The headline made her knees buckle. Rahman Air's secret past exposed. What is it? Amir asked, catching her arm. Then he saw the screen and went pale. There, playing on every major news channel, was footage of a younger Amir with Adi, another woman. The caption read, Exclusive. Rahman family's hidden marriage scandal. You see, Sophia's voice was smooth as silk through the phone. Amir forgot to mention something about those other women. One of them? He actually married her, 6 years before he met me. Maya stared at Amir, who looked like he'd seen a ghost. Is it true? Maya, I can explain. Her name was Sarah Chen, Sophia continued through the phone. A waitress from Chicago. Amir met her at a business dinner, fell madly in love, and married her in secret. Sound familiar? Stop! Amir tried to grab the phone, but Maya backed away. Want to know what happened to her? Sophia's voice turned cold. After 3 months of marriage, she signed over everything she owned to him. Her family's restaurant, their savings, everything. Then she disappeared. The police investigated, but nothing was ever proven. Maya felt like she was going to be sick. What are you saying? I'm saying you're not the first poor girl Amir's fallen in love with. Not even the first he's tried to marry in secret. But you could be the last one to make that mistake. She's lying, Amir said desperately. Maya, please. Am I lying? Sophia asked. Check his left shoulder, Maya. There's a small scar there. Ask him how he got it. Ask him about the night Sarah disappeared. Maya looked at Amir. Take off your jacket. Maya, take it off. Slowly, Amir removed his suit jacket. Maya unbuttoned the top of his shirt with trembling fingers. There, on his left shoulder, was a small, jagged scar. The night Sarah disappeared, Sophia said quietly. She figured out what Amir was really planning. She confronted him with a knife. There was a struggle. She ran away into the night, leaving him bleeding. 3 days later, they found her car in Lake Michigan. Her body was never recovered. That's not what happened, Amir shouted. Maya, listen to me. Yes, I was married before. Yes, Sarah disappeared, but I didn't hurt her. I loved her. Like you love me, Maya whispered. Yes. No. It's different with you. Different? How? Maya backed toward the door. Because this time you're really in love. Because this time it's real. Maya, please. Amir reached for her, but she flinched away. Don't touch me. She looked at Judge Rodriguez, who was watching the scene with shock. I'm sorry, but there won't be a wedding today. Maya ran from the courthouse, her heart pounding. Behind her, she could hear Amir calling her name, but she didn't stop. She ran until she found a taxi, then gave the driver the address of the Miami airport. Her phone kept ringing. Amir, her mother, even David. She ignored them all, but she did read the news stories now flooding every site. The more she read, the more sick she felt. Sarah Chen hadn't been the only one. There had been others, not marriages, but relationships, all with working-class women, all ending with the women losing everything, all swept under the rug by Rahman, family money. At the airport, Maya sat in a corner trying not to cry. How could she have been so stupid? All the signs were there. The whirlwind romance, the quick engagement, the secret wedding attempts. Even the trust fund he'd set up for her now seemed suspicious. Was it real or just another trick? Maya! She looked up to see Amir running toward her. She stood to run, but he caught her arm. Let me explain, he begged. Please, just hear me out. Why, so you can tell me more lies? No more lies. Amir's eyes were red. Yes, I was married to Sarah. Yes, she disappeared, but I didn't hurt her. I loved her and she betrayed me. Maya stared at him. What? Sarah was working with a corporate spy ring. She used our marriage to get access to Rahman company documents, stole millions in trade secrets. When I confronted her, she attacked me with a knife, then ran. He touched his scar. The police know all this, they just could never prove it. And the other women, the ones who lost everything, part of the same ring. That's how I met Sophia. She was the lawyer who uncovered the whole operation. My father pushed us together, said I needed someone from our world, someone I could trust. He laughed bitterly. Ironic, since she turned out to be the biggest liar of all. Maya felt dizzy. Why didn't you tell me any of this? Because I was ashamed. Ashamed that I'd been fooled. Ashamed that I let my family push me into a loveless marriage with Sophia. Ashamed that I wasted so many years being someone I'm not. He took her hands. But with you, everything is different. Everything is real. How can I believe you? Maya whispered. How can I ever trust you? Because I can prove it. Amir pulled out his phone. Remember that trust fund I set up for you? Look at the date it was created. Maya looked. The trust had been established 2 weeks ago, the day after they met, in Vegas. I knew from the first moment, Amir said softly. I knew you were different, real. That's why I put everything in your name before I even proposed. No strings, no tricks, no hidden clauses. Just trust. Maya's head was spinning. Could she believe him? Should she? Her phone buzzed again. Another news alert, but this one was different. Breaking, former Rahman employee reveals truth behind marriage scandal. The article quoted Sarah Chen's former roommate, confirming Amir's story. There were document trails, bank records, everything proving Sarah's involvement in corporate espionage. "I didn't want this all public," Amir said quietly. "Didn't want to drag her name through the mud even after what she did. But Sophia forced my hand. She thought exposing my past would drive you away. Instead, she just forced the truth to come out." Maya looked into his eyes, searching for any trace of deception. "If I stay," she said slowly, "no more secrets. No, more hidden past. Everything on the table. Everything," Amir agreed. "No more secrets, no more lies. Just us, facing the world together." Maya took a deep breath. "Then let's go get married." But as they turned to leave the airport, Maya's phone buzzed one final time. A text from an unknown number. "You think you know the whole truth? Meet me at the Fontainebleau Hotel in 1 hour. Bring Amir. There's something you both need to see." The message was signed simply, S. The Fontainebleau Hotel lobby was quiet when Maya and Amir arrived. The text had specified the rooftop restaurant, now closed for a private event. As they rode the elevator up, Maya's heart pounded. Who had sent the message, Sophia or Sarah? The restaurant was empty except for one person sitting at a corner table. As they got closer, Maya gasped. It was Mrs. Peterson. "Hello, dears," the elderly woman said calmly. "Please sit down." "Mrs. Peterson?" Maya stared at her former client in confusion. "What are you doing here? How did you know where to find you?" Mrs. Peterson smiled, but it wasn't her usual warm smile. "This one held secrets. I've known where you were since the moment you left New York." "I don't understand," Maya said. "Did Sophia send you?" "Sophia?" Mrs. Peterson laughed softly. "Oh, my dear girl, Sophia doesn't send me anywhere. In fact, you might say it's the other way around." Amir's face had gone white. "It was you," he whispered. "All this time it was you." "Very good, Amir." Mrs. Peterson's voice changed, losing its grandmotherly warmth. "I was wondering when you'd figure it out." Maya looked between them. "Figure what out? What's going on?" "Should you tell her?" Mrs. Peterson asked Amir. "Or should I?" Amir sank into a chair, looking suddenly old. "She's Sarah's mother." The world seemed to tilt under Maya's feet. "What?" "Sarah Chen wasn't just a waitress," Mrs. Peterson, or whoever she was, explained. "She was my daughter, my beautiful, brilliant daughter who disappeared after marrying Amir Rahman." But you're not Asian," Maya stammered. "Sarah was adopted." The older woman's eyes filled with tears. "She was my miracle baby, the child I thought I'd never have. And then she met him." She pointed at Amir, "the charming businessman who swept her off her feet, who convinced her to marry him, in secret. Who destroyed her life." "I didn't destroy her life." Amir stood up so fast his chair fell over. "She was a spy. She betrayed me, stole from my company." "Is that what you believe?" Mrs. Peterson pulled out an old envelope. "Or is that what your father made you believe?" Maya watched as Amir opened the envelope with shaking hands. Inside were letters, dozens of them, all from Sarah to her mother. "Read them," Mrs. Peterson commanded. "Read what really happened." Maya read. Over Amir's shoulder as he opened the first letter, Sarah's words painted a very different picture than the one Amir had told. She wrote about falling in love with Amir, about his family's disapproval, about their secret wedding. But then things changed. She discovered documents showing illegal dealings in the Rahman business empire. When she confronted Amir's father, he threatened her. "The corporate espionage story was a cover-up," Mrs. Peterson said quietly. "My daughter wasn't a spy. She was a whistleblower, and for that, she had to disappear." "No," Amir shook his head. "No, my father showed me proof. Bank transfers, documents she stole, forgeries, all of them." "Your father's specialty." Mrs. Peterson pulled out another envelope. "These are the real documents Sarah found, the ones that show exactly what your family's empire is built on." Maya watched as Amir read through paper after paper, his face growing paler with each one. "This can't be true," he whispered. "My father wouldn't what? Frame an innocent woman? Destroy her life to protect the family secrets?" Mrs. Peterson's voice was bitter. "I spent years investigating, using every penny I had. I became Mrs. Peterson, took that apartment in your building, waited for my chance. When I heard about you and Maya," she looked at Maya with genuine affection, "I couldn't let history repeat itself. So all this time," Maya said slowly, "you were watching us, protecting me? I had to know if Amir was like his father, if he would do to you what was done to my Sarah." Mrs. Peterson smiled sadly. "But I saw something I didn't expect. I saw real love. Where is she? Amir's voice was hoarse. Where's Sarah? Safe, far away from your family. She wanted to come today, but Mrs. Peterson shrugged. Some wounds are better left in the past. Maya sat down, her mind reeling. The trust fund, she said suddenly. The one you put in my name. Was that because you knew about Sarah? Amir nodded slowly. Subconsciously, maybe. I never believed the story about Sarah being a spy, not really. That's why I put everything in your name right away, to prove to myself, to everyone, that I wasn't like my father. And you're not, Mrs. Peterson said softly. That's why I'm here, not to stop your wedding, but to give you these. She pulled out one final envelope. The evidence of your father's crimes. What you do with it is up to you. Maya watched as Amir took the envelope with trembling hands. In that moment, she saw the weight of his family's legacy, the burden of secrets and lies, crushing down on him. What are you going to do? She asked softly. Amir looked at the envelope, then at Maya, then at Mrs. Peterson. I'm going to do what Sarah should have been allowed to do. I'm going to tell the truth. It will destroy your family, Mrs. Peterson warned. No, Amir said firmly. The lies destroyed my family. The truth might save what's left of it. He turned to Maya. But I won't do it alone. I meant what I said about no more secrets, about facing everything together. If you'll still have me. Maya looked at Mrs. Peterson, who nodded slightly. Then she took Amir's hand. Together, she agreed. Mrs. Peterson stood up. Then I have one last thing to tell you. Sarah, she left something behind. Something she wanted you to have, Amir, if you ever learned the truth. She reached into her bag and pulled out a final envelope. Inside was a single photograph, and when Amir saw it, he began to cry. It was a sonogram image, dated just days before Sarah disappeared. You have a daughter, Amir, Mrs. Peterson said softly. She's 6 years old. Her name is Hope. 1 year later, the Rahman mansion looked different in the morning light. Moving, trucks lined the circular driveway, and workers were carefully packing away generations of family treasures. Maya watched from the garden as Amir supervised the loading of the last boxes. Hard to believe it's really over, she said as he joined her. Amir took her hand, his wedding ring catching the sunlight. They had gotten married 3 months ago, not in a rushed ceremony in Miami or Vegas, but in a small garden wedding with only those who truly mattered in attendance. Not over, he corrected her, just beginning. The past year had been a whirlwind of changes. After Mrs. Peterson's revelation, Amir had done exactly what he promised. He'd gone public with everything. The evidence of his father's illegal dealings had rocked the business world. The Rahman Empire had crumbled, but from its ashes something better was rising. Daddy! Maya! A little girl's voice rang out across the garden. Hope came running toward them, her dark curls bouncing in. The sunlight. At 6 years old, she was the perfect mixture of Sarah and Amir, his eyes, her smile. Maya caught the little girl in her arms, marveling at how natural it felt now. When they'd first met Hope 8 months ago, she'd been terrified. How could she possibly be a stepmother to Amir's child with Sarah? But Hope had made it easy, accepting Maya with the simple love that only children possess. Is it time? Hope asked excitedly. Is Grandma Helen coming? Any minute now. Amir smiled, using Mrs. Peterson's real name, Helen Chen. The woman who had posed as a wealthy client to protect Maya had become family now, a bridge between past and present. A car pulled up the driveway. Sarah. She got out. Slowly, still cautious even after all this time. The woman who had been forced to hide for 6 years was finally free to live openly, thanks to Amir's testimony that had cleared her name and implicated his father instead. The movers are almost done, Sarah said, joining them in the garden. Hard to believe you're really selling this place. Time for a fresh start, Amir said. The foundation needs a proper headquarters. The Rahman Foundation for Corporate Ethics. That was Amir's new mission. Using what was left of his personal fortune, plus Maya's trust fund, which she had insisted on contributing, they had created an organization dedicated to exposing corporate corruption and protecting whistleblowers like Sarah. The downtown office is perfect, Maya added, and it's right next to my design firm. That had been Amir's wedding gift to her, funding for her to start her own interior design business. After everything that happened, she'd finally pursued her dream, and it was flourishing. How's the pregnancy? Sarah asked Maya softly. Maya touched her slightly rounded belly. 4 months along now, a new life growing, a symbol of hope for the future. Active? She smiled. especially at night. Just like Hope was, Sarah remembered, then looked embarrassed. I'm sorry, I shouldn't. No, Maya took her hand. Don't ever be sorry. Hope should know everything about her mother. All the love, all the sacrifice. Their unlikely friendship had surprised everyone, even themselves. But shared love, for Amir, for Hope, had created a bond stronger than the past's shadows. A familiar figure came walking up the garden path, Sophia. She looked different now, humbled by the events of the past year. When Amir's father's crimes were exposed, she'd been implicated too. But in the end, she'd chosen to cooperate, helping to bring down the corrupt empire she'd once helped protect. The lawyers need final signatures, she said, holding up some papers. Then it's done. The old Rahman Industries will officially be dissolved. Good, Amir said firmly. Time to build something better. As they all gathered to sign the papers, Maya looked around at this unlikely family they'd created. Amir, her husband, Hope, their daughter, Sarah, not an enemy but a friend, Mrs. Peterson, Helen, their protector turned grandmother, even Sophia finding her own path to redemption. Penny for your thoughts? Amir asked later as they watched the moving trucks drive away. Just thinking about that wedding in Vegas, Maya smiled. How different everything looked back then. How scared I was of not belonging in your world. And now? Now I know better. It was never about belonging in someone else's world. It was about creating our own. Amir pulled her close, his hand resting on her belly where their child grew. I love you, he whispered. Every day, every moment I love you more. Even when I rearrange your office furniture. Especially then. They laughed together, and Maya felt the baby move, as if joining in their joy. From the garden came the sound of Hope's laughter, as she played with her mother and grandmother, while Sophia sat nearby, working on plans for the Foundation's first whistleblower protection program. The sun was setting on the Rahman mansion, for the last time. But Maya wasn't sad. This place had been built on secrets and lies, on power and control. Their new home would be different, built on truth, on redemption, on love that was strong enough to heal the past, and brave enough to face the future. Ready to go home? Amir asked. Maya looked up at him, this man who had lost everything and found something better, who had faced his family's darkest truths and chosen light instead. This man who loved her not despite who she was, but because of it. I am home, she said simply, right here with you. Hand in hand, they walked away from the mansion, toward their waiting family, toward their future. Behind them, the setting. Sun painted the sky in shades of gold and rose, a reminder that every ending was just another beginning in disguise. And in that moment, Maya knew this was what true love looked like. Not a fairy tale, not a perfect story, but a choice made every day to face life's challenges together, to choose truth over comfort, courage over fear, and love over everything else. Their love story hadn't been easy or simple. It had been messy and complicated and real, but maybe that was what made it beautiful. Maybe that was what made it true, the end.